We'll move into item number 2 of the agenda, which is our public comments. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No action will be taken on topics of discussion. Anyone wishing to speak during public comment or on any items on the agenda, please go to the back of the room and fill out one of the yellow speakers cards so that we'll have a record of your appearance here today. Again, public comments limited to 3 minutes. At the 30-second mark, I'll give you a light warning so you'll know that you have about 30 seconds left, so kind of wrap up your thoughts at that point. Is there anyone here for general public comment?
The trash comment.
So I've got for the trash, we've got Alicia Self. Would you please come up at this time? And as you come up, will you give your name and address for the record? You can come up to the podium.
I have to first. You said do what now?
Name and address for the record. So
Alicia Self, 1409 South 14th Street, Palatka. Just wanted to comment on the change of the 90-day trial trash pickup. Personally, I don't have a problem myself with 1 day a week. That does not matter. But when you called to get a secondary container that was offered in our letter, I was told none were available till October, November. Then I was told, no, we do have them available by another person. We do have them available, but we're holding on to them for 2 weeks. I said, well, if I buy one from the store, will it be picked up? I don't know. So we're not getting clear answers to our questions, and we'd like that to be better, dealt with. And
Mr. Griffiths here. Well, let's get both the comments we got for trash pickup, and then we'll let you conclude. Anything else, Ms. Self?
And I just hope this doesn't affect the workforce for our guys that are working already, cutting back the time.
It won't.
That it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next up, Cornethia Foreman.
Hi, my name is Palatka Foreman from 1320 South 14th Street. I do have a problem with the once a week pickup because we have a household of 7 people, and we already struggle on the 2 days a week that we already have. And also, the rates were just raised, and now you're cutting back, and then also still an agenda that it's going to raise again. So I don't think it's fair for people to have at least 5 or more people in their household to be cut back to once a week unless y'all want to be dumping illegal in the county, because we have to get rid of this trash. And I'm telling you, we be to capacity every trash pickup day. Sometimes we have to sneak in our neighbor's trash can late at night with the last bag in. But we have trash. They know. Well, I told her yesterday, I think I sneak in the trash can. We got to dump to get the stuff out, but it's a lot of people in our household. So I know it's going to be a problem for us. Now, if y'all want to decrease that rate, yeah, I might be quiet a little bit, but we're going to need some more trash cans. We already have a problem with people dumping illegal already. But y'all, get ready, because y'all know they're going to start when you versa. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes, just real quick. We did have a little bit of mixed messaging from the customer service staff at Public Works and the Gas Authority, so for that I apologize. I'd like to give both of your contact information before you leave tonight. We are urging the citizens that we don't want to charge you for a second can unless you really need it. So in most instances, we're saying wait a couple weeks, we'll put you on a list, and then if you really need it, we'll roll one out to you. In your instance, where you do have a larger household, that's something where I'd like to go ahead and get you a second can. So if we could, before you leave tonight, I'd like to get your name and number, and I'll help you with that.
Is there anybody else here for public comment? No one else here for public comment. We'll close public comment. We'll move on to item 3, which is consent agenda. We've got items A through F on the consent agenda. I'm going to ask that item F on the consent agenda be pulled. Are there any other items that you wish to have pulled from the consent agenda?
Item D.
Also, Item D on the consent agenda also. Are there any other items that you wish to have pulled at this time?
Let's do B. Item B is for housekeeping.
Any other items on the consent agenda?
I looked at you, but I just want to make a comment after.
So, okay.
Which one?
I want to
Oh,
make a
I thought it was
comment.
F, D.
B, D, and F.
So you don't want to pull E, you just want to make a comment on it?
Yeah.
So it's just D and B?
B, D, and F. B, D, and F is full.
B, D, and
But
F
she
so
had-
far? Well, she doesn't want to pull B, she want to make a comment. She'll make her comment after the motion's made.
I got B, okay.
So you want to pull anything else? So so items B, D, and F have been pulled from the consent agenda. I entertain a motion at this time for the remaining items.
I'd like to make a motion to approve all items in the consent agenda except D, B, D, and F.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion, Vice Mayor?
I would like to say, as we go into bi-weekly payments, I've talked to the city manager and also our personnel person to please take some time to get some feedback from some of the folks that work down there for us, especially those that have been with us a long time. Sometimes it may be something that they need to know, but they don't realize when you change like that. And they promised me, both of them, that they would do it. So I just wanted to go on the record to promise that they would assist and take care of having some dialogue. If there's a problem that comes up, nobody can help you fix it unless you know what's there. Sometimes they have suggestions on how you could do it better.
Any other comments at this time?
I too was concerned about that and spoke with Mr. Garner about it, and I think that they have some things in place to provide financial literacy to those individuals that you're concerned about, Ms. Lawton, Vice Mayor Brown. I also was concerned about the way in the manner in which it was delivered, to make sure that they offer not only group, but as well as some one-on-one.
One-on-one.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
And
Commissioner?
I've also spoke with our finance director, and this is not gonna happen until February 21st. So it's not like it's gonna happen within the next 2 weeks or the next month or so. We're talking February 21st. So they have been working with all of the staff over the past couple of years for the most part. They do have some things in place, some safety nets. So I wanna commend them for continuing that effort. So, thanks.
Ms. Robinson, can you just give a quick overview of the employee education as it relates to payroll and financial literacy?
Yes, Deborah Robinson, Human Resources. Currently, we are on a weekly payroll cycle. We're asked to move to a bi-weekly payroll cycle. In doing so, we've been doing that for the last 2 years with educating our employees. We've had financial literacy classes. We've had partnerships with TriStar, Amerisbank. We will have partnerships this year with AFLAC to make sure that they are aware of how to better budget and move forward with the transition that we've got going on. So this has been in talks for about 2 years, and they've still got some time to acclimate to the change, which is in February. So we've got some stuff set up between now and then to make sure that it's a smooth transition.
What about the stipend?
There is a stipend in February that will come to help them, $1,000 for employees who've been with us for a while, $600 for employees who start after the new fiscal year, which is October 1, and $300 for our part-time employees. So everybody's kind of under the umbrella, yes, to fill in that gap for that transition.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Seeing no other questions, I'll call the question, the motion.
Motion to.
Call the motion as to the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to item 3B of the consent agenda. It is to adopt resolution number 2019 R102 awarding the bid for PD towing services and authorize execution of a contract with St. John's Auto Body for a 2-year term effective date of the award.
There's no material issue with it. It's just basically just, I guess, a typo, which I just want to make sure that that is corrected in there. Item B, City of Palatka Towing Service Contract, Section 3, Dispute Resolution Area, and it's like the sentence that has appropriate SCTE court. I think it means state court. So just a correction on that. And that's on the towing service contract item. And there's another one under the resolution, which this, I think this for 2019 R106, citizens instead of citizen. It should be citizens instead of citizen. So that's the fifth whereas clause in the statement. So that's basically just a point of correction.
What was the other one?
You got those restrictions?
What was the other one, I think? Don, did you get the first one?
I did. I got, the first one was the word states misspelled, or typo. The second one, I didn't get it.
It's just,
Citizen.
it's under the resolution 2019 R106, citizens instead of citizen. I mean, it's just a typo. Just housekeeping.
All right. So is there, I entertain a motion this time
Motion to approve
with the amendment.
the amendments to the item B.
Second.
Motion on the floor in a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item D, to adopt resolution 2019 R104, authorizing execution of a change order number 4 with 4C's Trucking in the amount of $243,179.82 for Palatka Heights potable water main project to mill and resurface streets and install brick intersection in the project area per change order specifications. Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor. This change order specifically is, to put it in simple terms, to resurface and restore the roadways associated with a portion of the water line replacement project around the South Historic District and southern portion of the Central Business District. We're only focusing on these roads and not the balance of the roadways because they're still scheduled for major construction with the stormwater improvements in the next year or two, so those will just be patched. The roads specifically are River Street from Morris to Laurel, and Short Krill, as I like to call it, from 9th Street to Laurel Street. It does include a patch on Laurel Street where we had a water main break some time back. It does also include the traffic calming elements that the CRA requested, and we've budgeted for 2 years now. Yes, on River Street at the intersection of Morris and Laurel Street. Now this does include going to the requested 4-way stop at Laurel Street. If you recall, when we previously discussed this, we didn't want to put the requested 4-way stop in until we had made these necessary intersection enhancements. We have brought this to the county's attention about a year or so ago. They provided no comment. It is a county-maintained road. It was recently resurfaced, I think, sometime in the past 10 years. Are there any specific questions?
You said that they're just gonna patch the streets that you named, and I heard 9th Street. They're not gonna pave that, they're just gonna patch it, or you're talking about River Street?
So if you go from where the curve is near Osceola on State Road 29th Street, and if you continue on the diagonal road Hawkins or Short Krill towards the old school, that's the section of Krill that I'm talking about, that approximately 3-block run. And I failed to mention, it does get that little half-block section of Carr between 9th Street, which is the DOT project, and Krill. So that entire triangle along with 9th Street will have new pavement. Does that clear that up for you, ma'am?
I talked to you.
Are you asking about the
I
other
need a
end
map.
of 9th Street?
I'm quite
I'm
sure.
talking about, you know what end I'm talking about.
Your end is talking about
Yeah.
DOT.
Yeah, they said they'd get that finished by 2022.
Thank you.
Kidding. They're pushing for October. So.
They putting clay there?
No, sir. No.
Well, you know, it was dirt when they first came.
All right.
When my folks first came, they were dirt roads.
I should have known that project was
Come
going
a
to get
long
brought up.
way.
Mr. Griffin, the amount, the $243,000 amount, what was that original amount that we had?
We had $100,000 actually in the contract for pavement restoration, because we knew when we got through this, there was going to be some sections of roadway that we would want to do a full mill and resurface on the width of the road versus a patch. We didn't think we'd have this much money in Better Place to do some resurfacing. It was a good year for that, so we want to allocate some more dollars to this. And Mayor, I will mention that I did reach out to a couple other general contractors that just primarily do mill and resurface, Halifax, P&S Paving. We did confirm that the number that we got for milling per square yard and resurfacing tonnage, asphalt by the tonnage, is comparable to what we had within our contract for unit pricing. So we feel good about this number. Unfortunately, the finance director is not here to speak to that. Her and I had a lengthy conversation about doing a change order versus advertising another bid, and we think this is the best use of city dollars.
Any further questions?
I just wanted folks also to know all the work that's being done. Sometimes folks don't realize it, and they see areas torn up, that there is change going on. We're trying to get water, sewer lines, and drainage, and get the city in better shape than it was 135 years ago. And I think that we need to let the public know that it's being worked on.
It's a lot better to see it torn up because of new water lines, and new water breaks. So, there's no further discussion. I entertain a motion at this time.
Second.
There's a motion to approve on the floor in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 3F, to adopt resolution 2019 R106, rejecting all bids submitted in response to ITB 2019-14 airport turf maintenance and directing staff to amend and release the invitation to bid. Mr. Griffin. And Mr. Yule.
Thank you. So this is the invitation to bid for turf maintenance at the airport. It includes operational mowing of the larger area of the airport, mowing along the runways and taxiways per FAA standards, as well as appearance mowing, which is mowing with a zero turn around the hangars and the terminal building. The rejection that's before you was based upon a staff discussion about a week ago. We thought at the time, based upon our internal discussions, that it was best to reject all bids and re-advertise. I believe Mr. Garner or Mr. Holmes can speak to this a little bit better than I can, but I believe there's a different recommendation if the commission would like to hear that.
When we initially evaluated these, we saw there were only 2 of the 7 companies that submitted had workman's compensation, workman's comp insurance, which is in the bid, required by the bid documents. Another issue was the lowest bidder was Haney Lawn Service from St. Augustine, and the second lowest bidder was Mullis, and they're a local company, and they submitted a letter within 2 days matching the lowest bidder, which was the company from St. Augustine, which they're allowed to, and that introduced some confusion that was not advertised in the bid documents. So it's another reason we thought it might be best to do the whole thing over again.
What was the difference between their bids?
$571.
Is there a difference between the 2 companies that all relates to equipment or anything else or services?
I looked at the equipment. I looked at the equipment. I thought the Mullis equipment looked very, very nice, better than the other company.
Both vendors are qualified.
Yeah.
But they're qualified. The newness of it.
I was telling somebody, and we have a company in town that's put in a bid. Several years ago when Mr. Williams owned the Chevrolet place, he came to us and made a request and a plea for us to look at how we were passing out our bids for stuff because we were buying all our cars, police cars and stuff out of town. And they were here and their bids were close to what the out-of-town bids were. And he made an appeal to us to shop Palatka, to give as many of our jobs as we could, if there was a firm qualified to do it to them. I just want to give you all that history because that means that those dollars get circulated in our community and not taken somewhere else and spent. And if we are putting out for bids, that maybe we need to put in the bid package that there is a preference to our people in the city if they have the equipment and are able to do it.
We live local, that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Florida legal cities,
Yeah.
that's what we're all about. And again, it's a local preference. He was within that range, so it makes sense.
Mr. Garner.
It's just a little matter of clarification so that everybody understands. The original bid did require workers' compensation on the certificate when it come back, and we had some that didn't. And there was a letter, the question was asked by a couple of the bidders, there's such thing in the state as a certificate of exemption for workers' compensation. And we looked at that and determined that it would apply to this bid. So we allowed them to resubmit the insurance certificates with the workers' compensation on it, and also by responding yes to the request by an addendum to the contract, they met all the requirements. So that's based on that. That's why we're recommending that they be awarded the bid and also shop local and be local. I'm a firm believer in doing everything we can as local as we can to support our own people.
Okay, so what do
Well, we all remember that we actually have a local preference policy.
Right.
So this isn't a case of us making this up as we go. The city has adopted a local preference policy. So the only question was whether or not there was any issue with the fact that we didn't note that on the bid specification, on the solicitation for bids. So it's not that we're making a new policy or that we're making up this preferential treatment factor on the fly. The policy has been in place for a long time. So anyway, that issue doesn't really concern me that much. It's been there. And $570 on what's the total value of the contract?
$51,548.
I'm sorry?
$51,548.
So $51,540 total value. There was only a $500 difference, and now the local bidder is matching the lower bid. So none of that really, I say it doesn't concern me. I don't find it to be a legally significant issue. There was some confusion early on about whether or not we had required in the bid specs that the bidders submit a certificate of insurance with the bid. I was under the impression that it did require that. I was told that. But Mr. Garner showed me today, or sent it up in our discussions today, he showed me that it didn't state that. And then he also showed me that there had been a question asked, and the city answered it, saying that a certificate of exemption would be allowed in lieu of the workers' comp certificate. In light of all of those, I don't find that the bid was flawed, in my opinion. I don't find the bid process to have been flawed. So there was a little bit of confusion, I guess, about some information earlier on, a week or so ago, but based upon what I understand the facts to be today, personally, from a legal perspective, I don't find the bid process to have been so flawed so that it requires a rebid.
you need a motion?
I got one speaker card. I've got one speaker card on this issue. Tom Townsend, representative for Mullis Lawn Maintenance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tom Townsend, 605 North 3rd Street, Palatka, Florida. North 3rd Street with new water lines and sewer lines.
Paved road.
We greatly appreciate it. I am here today representing Casey Mullis, sole proprietor of Mullis Lawn Maintenance and Landscaping. And I want to thank the commissioners and staff for the time. I certainly understand the confusion. Mr. Mullis years ago was rejected from this job, even though he was low bid, because he had not properly filled out the bid packet. But that experience led us to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, do exactly like staff had asked. We had done that. Clearly, everybody is aware of it. We appreciate the time, and we hope it is awarded, because we look forward to serving the city of Palatka. We think we've got a great bid, and know we're capable of doing the work.
Thank you. Any questions?
We make a motion to give the bid
Mileage?
to local.
Second.
The local company.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to award the bid to Mullis Lawn Maintenance. Is there any further discussion? I just want to point out before we have the vote, the amount of the bid, the amount of the difference between the bid, and also something that Mr. Yule said that stuck out to me, was that it seemed as though Mullis had better equipment than the other owner. And so those factors, along with the fact that you're able to keep resources in this community and jobs in this community, are important to me. And so I just wanted that to record to reflect those things. Questions called by Commissioner McCaskill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Being done.
And so I think one thing we got to be conscious of, awarding a bid does not necessarily mean giving the bid to the cheapest person, because sometimes when you go cheap, you go wrong. And so it's not always just about numbers, it's about it's the totality of the circumstances together. So we just have to make sure that we remember that. Moving on to item 4 of the agenda. Second public hearing, trim calendar fiscal year 2019-2020, final budget millage. Got our truth and millage statement. Item A is a resolution setting the final fiscal year 2019-2020 millage rate at 6.4000, proposed for adoption. And item B is a resolution adopting the final fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. Prior to the adoption, the taxing authority levying this property tax is the City Commission of the City of Palatka. The rollback rate is 5.5501 mils per $1,000 of assessed value. The percentage decrease is 15.31% higher than the rollback millage rate. The operating millage rate to be levied is 6.4000 mils per $1,000 of assessed value. Item A is a resolution setting the final fiscal year 2019-2020 millage rate of 6.4000 proposed for adoption.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, adopting the final operating millage rate for the purpose of levying ad valorem taxes for the City of Palatka, Putnam County, for fiscal year 2019-2020. Whereas the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, during regular session on July 18, 2019, adopted City of Palatka Resolution number 2019-R-80, setting the fiscal year 2019-20 tentative millage rates following a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, held the first public hearing on the fiscal year 2019-2020 proposed budget during a regular session on September 12, 2019, and adopted City of Palatka Resolution number 2019-R-99 to adopt the tentative and proposed millage rate as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, held the second public hearing during regular session on September 26, 2019, regarding the adoption of the final budget as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation within the City of Palatka, Putnam County, has been certified by the county property appraiser to the City of Palatka as $457,913,420. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, that the fiscal year 2019-2020 operating millage rate for the City of Palatka is 6.4000 mils, which is more than the rollback rate of 5.5501 mils by 15.31%. And this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. I'll now open the floor for public here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close. We'll close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, question call, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item B, resolution adopting fiscal year 2019-2020 budget.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka of Putnam County, Florida, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
This motion is forward to second. We'll open the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 5. Ordinance amending Appendix A fee schedule and corresponding code for Chapter 54 Planning, Chapter 66 Solid Waste, Chapter 74 Subdivisions, Chapter 94 Zoning, and Chapter 86 Utilities, Water, and Sewer Rates, second reading.
An ordinance of the City of Palatka, Florida, amending Appendix A fee schedule of the municipal code of the City of Palatka as it pertains to fees and other charges relating to Chapter 54, Planning and Historic District fees, rates for Chapter 66, Solid Waste and Garbage Containers, Chapter 74, Subdivisions, rates for Chapter 86, Utilities, and Chapter 94, Zoning Actions fee schedule, amending corresponding sections of Palatka Municipal Code for Chapter 66, Solid Waste, Chapter 86, Section 311A, New Connections, and Section 312 Deposits, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second. Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Have one card. Mr. Will Jones, you come forward at this time.
Pass on that opportunity.
Mr. Jones not here on this issue. Is there anyone else here to speak on item 5? You got two different things on your card?
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, I mean, it's not listed on there, but come on up, Mr. Richard Stackpole.
Yes, sir. Just wondering if you're changing the rates, if that means we're changing the rates on sewage and water.
Yes.
Raising them?
Yeah.
And this is the second meeting on this? Is this final meeting on this?
Final meeting on this.
I would object to that because number one, I heard that you, well, first of all, I just got a letter in the mail yesterday that we're reducing a trial period garbage pickup down. I don't know if that has anything to do with sewers and water.
That was, we started out with that during public comment, but you're welcome to talk.
That I feel like we're probably not going to get our rates reduced on the garbage, even though you're cutting it in half on what I pay for garbage pickup, you know. And actually, I don't really care because I'm only a one-guy family. Well, my brother has 11 kids. I'm sure he's going to be wondering why he doesn't get garbage pickup twice a week anymore, and why his bill has not gone down. And I would appreciate if my bill went down if you're going to do that. I heard that you got a brand new garbage truck too. But anyhow, so you're gonna get a new garbage truck and cut the garbage pickup in half. But also, you know, so anyhow, I mean, I feel that my water and sewage is high enough, $75 a month, and that's just a minimum. You know, when I lived in Crescent City, it was less than that, and they included everything in that, 3 things actually, and you know, it's high. That's all I can say. I'm on a fixed income. I don't have a lot of money, you know, so when you talk about increasing these things and then decreasing the services for these things, doesn't sound fair to me.
Right. Mr. Griffith, just for summation purposes, kind of, he missed it. Give him the 30-second abbreviated version of the garbage pickup and the changes and why the trial period is in place and what it was to accomplish. Because I think some people didn't get that message as well.
Yes, sir. Mayor and Mr. Stackpole, does your brother live in the city limits?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to get his contact information before you leave. Maybe we need to roll him out a second can, but I'd like to personally talk to him about his garbage collection needs. So what we did and what we presented at the previous meeting was some results of an audit. We run 2 garbage trucks for household collection, and they run out 4 times a week. Now, that's 2 times where we're hitting the same area that we hit at the beginning of the week, and we're picking up half of the waste. So you've got the same number of hours on that truck, same number of miles, same 3 guys out there that you're paying for, and you're only picking up half the waste. In simple terms, we're wasting money, and we're also replacing the trucks a lot quicker than we really need to be based upon the service level. In addition, the average stop count is well over 950 stops, which means that their time on the route is over 8 hours a day. It's not a balanced route. So the city doesn't have any way to grow and take on additional customers, and we're operating inefficiently, like I said before. So we're not proposing to leave garbage out there. We're proposing to pick up the same amount of waste once a week. So we're going from those 4 different routes that they're running to 6 different routes. So we'll be out there Monday through Wednesday, and I haven't told everyone. I know I've signed a few of the commissioners up, but just today we put a new software application out there. You can go online, actually type in your address. It will tell you what day your collection is, and you can actually set a reminder, whatever your preference is, free text message, free phone call, free email. We're trying to mitigate future rate increases. If we look at the revenue stream that we currently have based upon the number of customers that we have compared to the total expenses and the future capital replacement costs of those pieces of equipment, you're looking at very significant rate increases just to maintain the required reserve balance that we want to maintain. So you may not see a decrease this year, but you're going to see a significantly less of an increase over the next 5 to 10 years.
So after all that, thank you. Bottom line is, we're getting less service for more money, or the same money for right now. And you've added a garbage truck on already, so which is paid for. And still, after all that, it doesn't sound like we're getting the services that they've had the same services for how many years? I love those 3 guys, by the way. I see them all the time, you know, and I'm working on houses, and they'll take all kinds of stuff. I just never mind. You know, I love those guys, and they're hard workers, and they do a really good job, you know. But I just hate to see our services reduced for a lot of the people in this community that have large families, you know, and that's all I can, you know. I mean, you got a good argument with all the numbers and then the future increases and savings. It's like saying something's on sale now, so I got to go buy it, and I don't need it. You know?
So this is a question. So we're doing a trial period of 90 days. If we find out in the trial period that the old way works better, what do we do after 90 days, Ms. Griffin?
Re-implement the old routes.
Okay. And if we find out that we've got significantly more savings than what we anticipate, then who gets the savings? Where's that savings pass to?
The citizens or the customers?
So if we all just tip those guys $5 at Christmas, we can keep it all the same, right? That's all I got now.
They only give $1,000 around Christmas time.
Now that we've had our complete release, laughing is catching.
You forgot one point too, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
That sometimes the guys go out, when they go out to those canisters, a lot of times they're empty. And so when you're paying people to go and waste their time to pick up an empty canister, that also has to be taken into account.
Well, how about if we all turn our lids over and they don't have to touch it, and we'll put a little flag on it?
No, I mean, we can work together over the next few months or whatever as it relates to how we're gonna pick up the cans in terms of some using intelligence.
Let's try the trial. Let's see if it works.
So the trial is in place.
So, any further, no more yelling.
I just have a question. How will we determine after the 90 days if it was a good trial or bad trial?
Get that piece of paper for me. Fill out
Yellow
that paper
card.
from up top.
Yellow.
I just want that question answered.
Okay, I need to get that thing. We'll find out by the numbers. We'll see if we save money. We don't say. I'm not. If you gonna fill that card out for me, I'll give you all the answers you want. I just have to have it for the record. Can you tell us your name and address for the record so we have it? We have to make a record. I'm not going to answer it from the back of the room. There's a protocol as to how we do business in here. If you want me to answer the question, just come up front. If not, is there any more public comment? If you don't want to do that, then Mr. Griffith's going to answer your question as soon as we get the next break. comment at this time. There's a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Direction, moving on to item number 6 of the agenda. Direction on the purchase and location of Public Works Police Department and City Hall. Mr. Griffin, we have a presentation. Chief, Mr. Griffin, everyone come up this time.
Yes, sir, Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll just sit here, that way I can flip back and forth between
That's
the different
fine.
pictures and the estimates.
I'll start it out. So, we've gone through, we've put together some pictures of what the current facilities look like as it relates. Can everyone see this? So we put together pictures of what our current facilities look like from various departments, and if each department would kind of speak as to what we're seeing so that we'll know. So we'll take it from here. This Public Works.
Yeah, you want me to speak on the picture?
Yeah, just kind of narrate what we're seeing.
Okay. What you see right here is the hallway entering into our patrol commander's office, as well as adjacent to where our IT room is. One of the most important rooms for the police department, where it holds all our software and our computer equipment, as well as our servers, has one of the worst leaks. That picture here that you're looking at is in the records office. When it rains, when you get a bad storm, it leaks actually through that lighting portion. So it leaks down through the lighting, which causes us to have to cut off the lights so we don't have electrical issues. This hallway here has a leak, and it leaks on two sides. This is one of the hallways leading into our classroom. The first picture you're seeing was the front side. The second picture is the back side. This is back in our equipment room, and that wall there, over a period of time, we were continually having to refurbish that wall and get that wall fixed to where it's leaking actually through the bricks. This office here is in our kitchen area, our break room area, where there also was the bathroom. And here, no, that's mine. Yeah, I'm sure that's not mine. One important factor we missed over. We missed over, which was the detectives division, which is our worst area. And this is a building that, again, has a flat roof on it. We've done maintenance to this roof probably for the last 10 years consistently, and continually have to maintenance the roof over and over again with different areas. The problem we have now in between our air conditioner units is because of the way the building is built with the brick surface, is actually identifying where the leak is occurring, because it runs down the wall and leaks in a different area of our drop seal.
Doesn't works.
Just gonna say, I didn't take these pictures, so this may be a little rough on me trying to describe this, but
Can you describe this stuff?
yeah. I'll just describe the facility. I don't know if everybody's had the pleasure of coming to our beautiful public works lot, but we are in, our office is in a structure that has been kind of cobbled together over the past 40 to 50 years. We are cramped. There is not a lot of space. Air quality is poor. As you can see, we rely on multiple window units. I can tell you this is Rhett and Sean's office. There's poor insulation. This is the front entrance to our customer service area. This is the switchboard and IT, which is right above our break room. This is where our coffee pot goes. And we're back to the PD. But I'll go a little bit further into our facility, and I can pull up an aerial if needed. The lot is, as I said, it was cobbled together over a long period of time. It's an inefficient layout. We do have some decent pole barn structures to keep equipment sheltered. We don't have adequate warehouse space. We keep a lot of the water and sewer equipment outside. It's not the best place for it. It's not the most secure location. A lot of that stuff can be stolen and taken to the scrapyard. We do have structures that are falling down. Over the past year, we have been demolishing some structures that are unsafe. The inmates, we have 2 inmate crews, and unfortunately don't have a picture of their facilities here, but you can probably all recall what they look like based upon the tour we took a year or so ago. Their bathroom facilities are horrendous. They'd probably be better off with a portalet than what they have right now. And we don't have a secure facility to house the inmates. We have heard that from the prison multiple times, that they do not like our facility. They don't like the ability that people can get contraband in easily. There's not a way to kind of segregate them away from some of our operational areas so that they can be monitored. To sum it up, our facility condition is worse than poor.
Any questions, comments from the commission? You also have the scenarios that we've gone over, the options we've gone over the past few years. And so, to kind of give a historical background of what's been in place, the conversation about the use of City Hall is not a new conversation. It's a conversation that's probably been going on for the past decade and a half, at least. Over the last 4.5 years, we've had significant conversations as it relates to what's the highest and best use, which is something that we constantly talk about as it relates to our properties for both the City Hall building as well as the annex. We've gone through multiple workshops, and we funded 3 years ago or 2 years ago for the new public works facility.
3 years ago.
Initially, it was 3 years ago that we funded for the new public works facility based upon the conditions that existed there. And we're beyond time for us to do something for our employees as it relates there to create greater efficiencies of operation. We explored multiple options as it related to both City Hall renovation, annex renovation, new public works facilities, and we included the police department as well in that conversation. The police department has outgrown its initial building many years ago. Chief, how long has it been since the annex building was acquired? Over a decade, right?
Yes, sir.
And so the annex building, to my memory, was acquired in the early 2000s. And you've now outgrown the annex building.
That's correct.
So how many employees do you have in between those 2 buildings total that work for the police department?
Well, we actually currently right now have 42. We'll be moving to 44 starting October.
And so, and how many employees in public works?
The entire public works full-time equivalent is just north of 50, but down at the lot, I think we've got around 35.
And so we've gone through multiple options. What we're going to do is, for those who've not been following this, until the newspaper gave you some additional information outside of the information they covered for the last 4 years, we're going to show you what we've been doing in workshops for the past 4 years and what options were out there and what the numbers were. We realize that some of these numbers are old, and workshops are, when we come together, we invite the citizens in to give comments and to participate in the conversations. So going through the options, can you make that a little bigger? And so as we go through those, what you see under option 1, it talks about, this is what you've got the most conversation on over the past week or so. It's the PRC is moving City Hall, Public Works, and City Hall to PRC Way, 7220 PRC Way. And what we see at the top is the square footage allocations. And what we have on there, and I gotta move so I can see it.
Can they put the air conditioner down?
I am also
So,
cold in
so as we look on there, what we see is to renovate the PRC building, to build out for meeting rooms, 11,200 square feet. These estimates were given by the architect as it relates to what was there. Price is $1.736 million to renovate the existing suitable space of 16,800 square feet at a cost of $20 per square foot, $336,000. And the purchase price, we're estimating a purchase price, there has been a negotiation of about $1.5 million for public works. The garage covered parking and site improvements is $1.174 million. The sale of the annex building and the sale of the portion of the 100 block, those are estimated numbers if that was an option that was out there. Most of our preference is to continually maintain City Hall and the continued portions that we have here in an effort to do something different. What we're looking at for City Hall is creating a higher and better use, or either leasing the building out. If you lease government spaces out at market rate, then you can get those places back on the tax rolls, and the occupant would have to pay market rate rent and taxes on that particular building if you do land leases on government property at a market rate. The second option that we have here is for the City Hall and the annex, and the second option is to renovate the existing City Hall for administration. City Hall currently has 7,116 square feet. The estimated square footage rate to renovate this building, based upon the extravagant finishes of the terrazzo and marble that's throughout this building, as well as the thickened walls that came with this historic building, from the architect, was $235 per square foot to renovate this building. It comes out to $1.672 million as the estimate for this building. Renovation of the annex building, which has 8,316 square feet, at a rate of $200 per square foot, comes out to $1.6 million. For public works, we're looking at construction of a metal building at the existing location of 8,000 square feet at $920,000, including all of the other improvements that go along with it, at $225,000, and demolition of existing facilities at $49,000. We estimate building a 12,000 square foot police department at $300 per square foot because of all the added security things that they have in place, and requirements for police departments to run $3.6 million if you just decided to build a new police facility on its current site. Option 3 says City Hall and Annex to renovate existing City Hall, those same numbers we had before, to renovate existing Annex for meeting space, same numbers I just previously went over, to build a public works site on Building Avenue. Building Avenue is the side road that's across the street from Palatka Ford. Based upon all our mapping and locations, it's the central most spot in the city of Palatka, which gives Public Works the opportunity to be able to get to all its locations from a central spot. And it's an area, what we look at is $300,000 estimated for land acquisitions, $3 million for building the new facility. The numbers for the police department are the same, $3.6 million under option 3. Do we have the other two options on there? Option 4, for City Hall and Police Department, relocate to 820 Reed Street, which was available. That's the old Winn-Dixie building. 24,948 square feet. We estimate $155,000 to renovate that building in its entirety. We may have to do some of those renovations because the dollar store had some renovations done before, but we don't know to what extent. So $3.86 million is what the estimates are on that. The sale of the police department, the estimated valuation of the police department, $500,000, and the 1209 Reed Street location at $200,000 for the police department, and also the estimated value of the City Hall buildings are put into that equation, as well as the 100 North 11th Street location, which gives us, and also the next phase for Public Works is relocating to Building at $3 million, and the land purchase at $300,000, gives us a total of $6.3 million for option 4. Option 5 is relocating using the 820 Reed Street location. Again, at $3.8 million, reducing, offsetting those numbers based upon the values of those additional properties if we decide to liquidate those properties, and then relocating Public Works to K-Larkin Circle. And that gives us a $2.5 million, $2.578 million. K-Larkin Circle is property we already own. I'm sorry, that's CDR building, I'm sorry. CDR building it's right now another abandoned industrial property. And so they have major warehouse space available and suitable facilities for the city, but we estimate $2.5 million for Public Works to go there alone. Option 6 is relocating to 820 Reed Street, $3.8 million. The reduction of prices based upon the properties that we already have, and to construct Public Works, construct a metal building on the existing site that we already own, site improvements of $225,000, demolition existing at $49,000 as previously stated. That gives us a $4.562 million option. All these numbers are subject to change based upon certain variables that are put in place, but these are kind of our best guess estimates on some of the options that are available. We've even explored possibilities of trying to enter into some type of co-op agreement with Ride Solutions. We looked at our 11th Street properties previously. We toured all these different areas to figure out what is the best way to get us to a point where we can conduct business in a manner which allows us to be able to have a higher and greater use for the current facility, which isn't conducive for what we have in place. When we brought building and zoning back into City Hall, what we found was that we were on top of each other. We've got, right now, our planning director, who's only part-time, is buried in about a 10 by 10 room in the back trying to do work because we've got everyone in the same facility. Our recreation director and cultural arts director are in our annex building, which we've been using for storage because we don't have city storage. So that building is 8,300 square feet, and I would dare to say that 6,500 square feet of that building is currently being used to house things that we had from Palatka Main Street for downtown projects, for our banners, our flags, all the other things that are there. There's just been an adequate workspace that's in place. That building is aging. If you walk outside, you'll see stress fractures in the block work on that building. We continually put Band-Aids on buildings as we move forward. When we hired Inspire Technology, and previously when we brought in other companies to do simple things like look at our phone system, what we found was that we have an analog phone system because of the age of our building. The phone companies did not want to go ahead and have us make all these technological changes to this old building. Because of the thickness of the walls, because of the way certain things are done, it's difficult to deal with them inside of this building. So the phone company said the numbers will be astronomical just to get us to a digital phone system. When it comes to wiring and electrical and some of the other things, you still have those same difficulties. On the other side, some of the frustration that we have is even in this back room, this was once just a loading dock, which was converted over to office space to try to create additional work space inside of City Hall. That building has been waterproof at least how many times in the last couple of years? Twice. And you walk in there now and you still smell mold and mildew just because it was not made for that type of space. And the way that roof is, we continually have flooding in that area. We continue to have other things in there. We've looked at all these options. One of the things that we look at is where this city is going, and we also look at what's happening here. There's a major concentration on redevelopment of downtown. We understand that the PRC building, as one of the options, is on the farthest end of the county. It's on the farthest end west of the city. Unless you realize that the city limits extend to County Road 309. But also, City Hall right now is on the farthest end east of the city. So east or west, you're still on the far end. We have 8 to 10 people who work in here on a daily basis. The traffic that comes in City Hall is not the same traffic anymore because most of the traffic came from water bills and it goes to the gas authority now. There's still a lot of people who only come to City Hall to be redirected to another service somewhere else. We've done head counts around here on a regular basis and the head counts aren't the same. City Hall is mostly used to deal with administrative issues and to deal with internal workings and to meet with people who are coming here to do business with the city on a regular basis. The other part of it is, as we continue to have this conversation, the Public Works Department is in desperate need. It's past its shelf life, like many other things in this community, from the wastewater treatment plant, which is a decade and a half past its shelf life. There is no question that Public Works has to be replaced. My wish, and hopefully many others' wish, is that we finally take Public Works out of the residential area and put it out of neighborhoods so that trash trucks are no longer driving down those same streets in the morning to go out to do their deliveries. And these larger trucks and all these utility trucks day to day are not coming through the same area that we have a park for kids. And it's not constant traffic in the residential area. When it was put there before, it was put in that area for whatever reason, but it's an eyesore in the community and it shouldn't be there. And it's a hodgepodge of old buildings that are past their life, that are full of mold and mildew, and they're falling apart. You can't even put decent IT in place, and they're using using split AC units because they can't put in regular duct AC. Those things, that building is not conducive to what we want our employees to be working in this city. When I got here, the break room, you could see daylight inside the room. It didn't have heat. Our employees were going to Wendy's to go to the restroom. And those things cannot exist in this city. We've been promising it to our workers. They provided greater efficiencies in operation. And we're moving forward, and it's time that we move those facilities forward so that we can continue to do work. The last part of it is City Hall. It's the police department. Our police department, we find ourselves, houses all our technology for the most part. It houses the greatest portion of our technology. That building is old. We're on top of each other. The evidence room is small, and they're cramped for operational space. It's a flat roof building that we continually put a Band-Aid on. We put a Band-Aid on that building, hoping that one day it's going to work itself out. And so we have to look at what our options are. So just to build a police department is $3.6 million. You're going to estimate somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million to build a public works facility. You can acquire one facility, whether it's 820 St. John Reed Street, or it's the PRC building, and you do a mixture of the two. You can find yourself in a situation between $4 to $4.5 million where you create new facilities. At the end of the day, something has to be done. And I don't want to sell you on any facility, but my choice is the PRC building at this point because it's 42,000 square feet with an 11-acre campus, which puts us in a position where we can grow if necessary, unlike what we've planned for in the past. 42,000 square feet with IT, 42,000 square feet with backup generators and batteries, 42,000 square feet with air conditions on the ground floor as opposed to on the roof. And it puts us in a position where government's not occupying our most valuable pieces of property that can be used for higher and greater use. When I see City Hall, I see an event center or a small conference center that can be used to draw more people to downtown than the 10 people that work here daily. I see an opportunity for us to create additional traffic here. The city's not going anywhere because the annex building's not going anywhere. We are currently doing minor renovations on that building so that it can be used for recreation and also be used as a downtown facility for what we have in place. Those are the things that we have there. And so that's where we are. There's been massive conversation. I understand that for some folks, moving west is not what they want to happen. But I also know that we can't stay here much longer and continually be productive in the way that we need to be as technology changes and as this world changes. And so we can sit here for as long as we want. We can keep our employees in those horrible conditions in those other facilities, and the community is not going to move forward in the same way. At some point, the conversation has to happen. In a perfect world, we'd be next door. But that didn't happen, and that was well before our watch. The school board took advantage of the opportunity to get that facility. We missed it. We missed that boat. That ship has sailed, so here we are. So we're welcome to any other conversation, because for 4 years we've been having a conversation, and many people have taken no interest in what the conversation is. So I've got some speaker cards. After hearing me, if there are any other comments from the audience, give me something better, and I'll listen to it. And so, any comments from the commission, or do we want to go straight into the speakers?
I would like to hear the speaker before I comment if that's possible, Mayor.
Richard Stackpole. 3 minutes.
3 minutes, woo. Uh-oh.
You're
I'm really gone.
You're gonna use half of your
Stack
time on
Pole,
jokes.
108 Front Street. I see you all have done your due diligence on this thing, and you got some good ideas there. And I would like to point out, number one, there's a city ordinance from 2010, ordinance 1013, signed by Betsy Driggers here and Mayor Flagg, saying that that business park is to be used for business. And I understand y'all are under buildings are old, you want to consolidate, you want to get some IT in, stuff like that. And I mean, moving out there is not, I know it's not an easy decision what y'all have to do here. First of all, the population of the city has decreased in the last 10 years. From 1960, the population was 11,000, now it's 10,300 or so. The city has not grown any, and yet our taxes are going up and everything else. So how many square feet is all your facilities at the moment? This building here, police department, et cetera, approximately how many square feet are you utilizing at the moment?
Less than 30.
Obviously less than 30. I mean,
1,000.
probably, what,
You got
3,000 in this building?
You got 8,000 in this building, about 3,000 usable for office space.
That's what I'm talking about.
You got about 8,000 at the police department, and you've probably got 1,500 to 2,000 of office space at Public Works.
So you got about, what, 12,000 that you're using now or so, approximately, and you want to go up to,
And 3,000 for annex, so let's say 15,000.
all right. And so you need more space, you know.
Building and the annex. So it's more than that.
I agree the police department is in bad shape. Now, I happen to know a guy that's been in a lot of police departments, and there's a lot worse ones around than that one.
I'm not going to touch that.
But, actually, I had to
You got
go.
1 minute.
Well, the police, I had to go to the police department for something a while back, and I want to apologize to an officer about my behavior about something. And they said, well, what's it? They said, look at the board over there. I said, I didn't know his name. They said, look at the board, see if he's on there. I pointed at a guy, and he goes, oh, he doesn't work here anymore. So, and you don't even keep, they don't even keep the log. The sheriff's department does that for them. Anyhow, I know it's a difficult decision, but I like the graphics you had up there with all your options, and the one where the old Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, that whole block over there. I mean, I like the idea of keeping the police department and the city hall in the city, because there's a lot of indigent people in this area and stuff. They can't get out there, to take care of business. You got your DMV right over here. You got the city, the courthouses are right here. So for people to have to go all the way out there to conduct extra business is not ideal. So there's a lot of pros and cons to this whole situation, but I like the idea of exploring a little bit more about some of those other options. What if you tear down the whole Dollar Tree area and put a new building there? We couldn't cost more than $4 million to do that. Now I don't know if you got space to do that for the public works and everything else, but I see you guys have done your due diligence, and I don't know if you guys are making this decision today on this.
We're trying to get to.
You're trying to wrap it up.
We're trying to stop kicking this can.
I know you're trying to wrap it up. I understand you all want to
Well,
get
we won't be
better,
hasty.
better space, but That's all I gotta say. I mean, the idea of moving out, I had a whole bunch of notes, and you knocked down, you know, I've seen that graphic, I scratched out a whole bunch of stuff here, you know. But,
We appreciate you.
you know, anyhow, I mean, I got wheels, I can get around and do all these things, you know, but a lot of people can't. And having a way out there, you know, it is far away from town.
Regardless of what plans happen, there's always going to be essential services in the Center area. Next up,
All right.
is, thank you very much, Linda Braman. Make sure we give your name and address as you come forward.
Linda Braman, 2020 Country Club Terrace here in Palatka. I'm new to this city. I've only been here a little bit more than 2.5 years. I love this city. I think it's beautiful. I think you've got a great future. The one thing that concerns me is the number of empty buildings you already have downtown. I love the idea of being put in one building, because I came from the state where I worked for 23 years, and we had to do a lot of shifting and moving, and we always go through this stuff. But the thing that was never talked about is what do you do with the empty property? I see a lot of downtown buildings that are empty. I saw your resale value, which looks wonderful. Reality, where are you going to sell them? And if you don't sell the buildings within a certain period of time, will you tear them down so they're not eyesores? See, a lot of what you have in a community is what does the community look like? And if you've got a lot of empty buildings, you're saying, we don't have the commerce here. And if you've got a lot of dilapidated buildings that aren't being taken care of, and then you're trying to sell these dilapidated buildings, are you selling them so cheap that they can tear them down right away? Are you selling them expecting them to renovate an already terrible building with terrible air, terrible breathing air, heat, whatever, plumbing? I'm a minister here. Our building is so old. We tried to replace a pipe and we wound up replacing more pipes. Are we selling our problem to somebody else without thinking about our future? I don't know if it makes any sense, because I really like what it looks like downtown, and I think you've got a great idea, but I'm saying, you know, it's kind of like when you leave one job, make sure you've got another. If you're going to build something new, how are you going to get rid of the old?
Well, we already have interest in these buildings. We already have people who are interested in bringing new businesses
That's
here.
what I needed to hear.
And so those things are out there as options, but again, the commission or no one else has decided to sell anything or to lease anything. And so you can enter into long-term leases. We've had people contact us regularly since we've had these conversations about interest in bringing event centers and things of that nature to this community. But again, you have to go past point A to get to point B. We can't do any of that other stuff until there's a decision that's made as to whether we're going to even look at the negotiations to figure out if the costs are going to be where they have to be.
Because you're looking at bringing commerce in to Palatka, so that we do build our community and we do have more people moving here and not away.
Well, we continually look at doing that. If you look at downtown, the numbers are going up regularly. If you look at the building permits that are going up, things in Palatka are starting to change. And it's a process.
Yeah. I understand. I'm just concerned if you have more empty buildings, what's it going to say about us? It's like going into what used to be a thriving town and then it's turned into a ghost town.
You know, I was concerned about people walking upstairs to a non-ADA compliant hodgepodge of conference tables, of just tables put together, and we were trying to negotiate multi-million-dollar contracts inside City Hall because we didn't even have a conference, we didn't have a place where we could have staff meetings. So we took the mayor's and commissioner's office next door and created a training room and used modular tables so that we would have a place where we could have meetings for folks who came over to conduct business with the city. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't in place before, and it's starting to change. We didn't have a place for training. We don't have a place where we can even get all our employees together. We don't even have a place where we can have student of the month certificates. You got people standing in the hallway and all around here just so that we can come in and give certificates to kids from our local schools and have the parents sit down in a chair. So there are a lot of things that have to change, and we aren't just flying by the seat of our pants trying to do this. We're literally trying to come up with the option that's best and sit and listen to everybody so that we can come up with this. And so that's
And I
what
think
we are.
that's what we want to hear. We want to hear what you're looking at, and you've answered a lot of my questions, and I appreciate that, because I know you need space. I know you want your workers to be safe. But I also know that the general public is not involved in these discussions. The more people hear it, the more can pass it on, so thank you.
We welcome the general public. Unfortunately, when we get to a lot of hot button issues, people don't show up. I don't know whether it's the uncomfortable feeling of coming to City Hall and speaking in public, or if it's just apathy. But we try to make sure we engage the citizens so that we can get responses, and so we appreciate your input. Mr. Jutras.
Good evening, Jay Norman, Jutras, 412 Mulholland Park in Palatka. Basically, you should be commended, the commission and so forth, for all the things you have done in the city. The parks have all been brought back up. We have a lot of sports activity facilities for the kids that have been upgraded so that they're active and they're working. You've actually taken the water department functions out of here and into with the gas department. You've combined them. You haven't spent more payroll and dollars in order to accomplish that. You talked about the technology aspect that's already been growing over in the gas department, and so therefore you just have made the facilities more functional and more a place for people to go, and it's easier to work with. But I think when we've got the city of Palatka, they've hired a gentleman by the name of Quint Studer to try to help revitalize our community and bring things to town. And here we're looking at moving things out of town. I think we need to take some time and look at each individual item and see what we can do. I have to agree with you. Public Works structures are terrible. They do need new buildings. They need to have something. But again, to jump into this at $4 million, for example, that you're working with, 4 million or 400 million, whatever the number is. I've lost track of all the numbers.
We have 400 million, we'll be having this conversation.
Right. But even at 4 million, you're talking, you get 10,000 people, that's $400 a person that you're going to be spending on these amenities. And I don't think we really can afford all of them at one time. I think this is where we have to look at things and do it one step at a time. You have 8 or 9 people, 10 people working in this building. To create a building for 10 people is not going to cost a fortune. The police department does not have all of their offices standing inside that building every day. They have work that they have to do, there's certain performance and there's certain meeting rooms and training rooms and things of that nature, but you're not loading it with that many people. The same thing with Public Works. Most of the people in Public Works are out on the road, they're out doing their jobs. And the actual amount of space for staffing is not really that heavy. But I think there are things that we should be looking at and take step by step. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Kitchens. You need 10 minutes?
Sir?
You need 10 minutes?
No, sir, I got it whittled down to 1 minute, 12 seconds. plus an additional comment.
I'm gonna time you.
A Liquid Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. If this information on the board here had been in the public agenda, I would have had probably a different presentation to some degree, because I can refute a lot of it and talk about a lot of it, and we do need to go over it. However, what I'm saying here does apply regardless of what you do. The proposed location of 7220 PRC Way in the Putnam County Industrial Park is not a good location for the City Hall, Police Department, or Public Works. Not only is that a lowland, flood-prone area with an industrial future land use, but the building has extensive water damage on the east side and has not been tested for toxic mold. In a Palatka Daily newspaper article on December 21st, 2016, concerning the moving of the Putnam County Courthouse, the Reverend Carl Flagg said this: "The government has been a primary player that has caused the downtown to survive as long as it has. There would be a dramatic demise if the courthouse left downtown. Like losing the courthouse, losing City Hall would definitely cause a dramatic demise in downtown Palatka. Relocation of City Hall and the Police Department will be a major detriment to the revitalization of downtown Palatka and and now is not the time to do it. It will hurt the newly reborn push to revitalize downtown Palatka, undertaken by Quint Studer, working with One Putnam Inc., St. John's Avenue Development LLC, Palatka Young Professionals Incorporated, Downtown Palatka Merchants Inc., and others who are spending time and money to bring back our historic downtown as a destination for tourists and citizens. One of the talking points when people try to sell visitors on Palatka is the quaint and historic City Hall located in the heart of historic Palatka at the foot of the bridge. I don't think saying the new City Hall located in an industrial park beside a food processing plant will make citizens or tourists want to come to downtown Palatka, nor will it help revitalize it. If you vote to move City Hall from its current location in downtown Palatka, you will be placing a major stumbling block in the efforts to revitalize downtown Palatka. Just say no to relocation. Thank you.
And just one quick question for you. The PRC building, was it ever used for industrial purposes so far?
I'm not sure. I believe there was one time there was a call center located there.
But they didn't make anything in it. It was a business, it was office space.
No, but that's not, the future land use is industrial.
But it's also the Putnam County Business Park, not the Putnam County Industrial Park, just for clarification.
It's still zoned industrial.
Okay.
I mean, the future land use is industrial.
That building has never had an industrial use. Next up, Will Jones.
Will Jones, 701 Brunson Street, Florida. I just had some comments, public comments on the number of people that's going to occupy that building at PRC Way. I know that building, I actually worked out there some time ago and employed over 400 people out there. That's employees, HR, and different other entities that were in there. And I really think that building is too large for what you guys are going to use it for. The number of people, like I think Allegra just said, 10 people that house this building right now. Public Works have 8 administrative people because garbage people don't sit in the office all day. Also, the police department, they are patrolling, majority of them. So they probably have about maybe 15 people, 20 people inside of the department at all times. I saw the options, which I didn't have any information on prior to this meeting. And I do like some of the options. But one option I also like is City Hall staying downtown and maybe doing one project at a time, like the young man there before me said. And that project is at the needs of maybe Public Works, but not moving Public Works, maybe building down on city property. I think taking that PRC Way property off the tax roll would be a detriment to us. We should be recruiting, trying to actually get industry to come out there to employ some of our people here in Palatka. Like I said, it used to be 400 employees out there. Now we got 400 unemployed people somewhere around here in this county. So if we could work as hard as recruiting other businesses or industry to come in versus finding a place where we can move our government offices, I think we'd be all right. That's just my opinion.
I'll respond to the comments. We do work very hard to recruit businesses out there. Mr. Jones, you worked at PRC. How long has that building been empty?
About 10 years.
And I can tell you in the last 5 years, there have been a whole bunch of folks who looked at that building and decided that they didn't want to be there. If that building, if it stays empty for another 10 years, we're going to find ourselves saying that PRC building is really an eyesore. And we're going to have that conversation. So my thing is, there have been significant efforts in recruiting businesses made throughout this community. We'll continue to make those same efforts. It doesn't matter if we're the PRC building, it doesn't matter if we're the Winn-Dixie building. It's been empty. It's been empty for the longest. That building gets a few people in there, they occupy a portion of it. It's been empty. It's a major eyesore within this community. And so we'll continue to move forward. To make those other options, they're there. We've explored them. We've explored the phase approach even at the PRC building. We don't see ourselves coming in and immediately spending $4 million inside that building because we want to make sure we continue to keep our revenues in a position where we prosper. And so the idea of phased approaches is something that we've talked about with all of this. We drew down 7.1 million on SRF funds to replace water lines, but we didn't go out and spend 7.1 million at one time. We wanted to make, even though we had the capacity to do so, we wanted to make sure that we use a phased approach so that we could get the best bang for our buck. And so we'll continue to do those things. We appreciate the comments as it relates to that. And more than anything, you worked in that police department. You know the conditions that it's in.
Yeah, well, to make it clear, I mean, there wasn't nothing negative to say about you guys' efforts. I'm saying what we would like to see. I'm quite sure as a community, more jobs be created here. And I'm not saying that your efforts were not diligent. However, we do need to see that. We need some commerce to come in here. And you guys moving, spending $4 million on the building to move apartments. They are relevant, but however, you start talking about how many people we're serving or are being housed in there. We're saying that the conditions are deplorable. We got people working in the heat, cutting grass and stuff like that. They're not in the air conditioning, even though you say the air is not up to standards. I mean, heck, you're in the air conditioning at least. But I want to make it clear that I'm not actually saying that your efforts for future employment opportunities here are not up to par, but we would like to see more efforts. So I applaud you guys on what you're trying to do. But my opinion was, I would like to see you guys stand right here, make it clear. You guys stand right here. Maybe trying to get Public Works a new building with some bathrooms that you guys don't have to go to Wendy's and use. And maybe when we start getting people to come in and do work, like putting roofs on, stop patching them up and do a good job. And then hold them accountable if it didn't do a good job. Have them come back in and redo it. And then even just replace them ceiling tiles that you got there. That's all it is.
Your time is up. Anybody else? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Miss Crider, Miss Correa, I know. Revitalize. Gotta have somebody. So, again, we appreciate your comments. I'm going to stand out in the front of this one because, again, if you don't have dialogue, if nobody's sitting here thinking, then we just continually do the same things and we find ourselves in a rut. All these wonderful ideas never made it to any one of those workshops when we sat here and you look around and it's Miss Kitchens and we sat on that bus and nobody showed up for that. It's advertised the same way as the same kind of article in the paper. All we want is not to be put in a position where 5 people make the decisions and nobody else, and people seem like they don't care. It's 10,000 people in this city. Some of y'all don't even live in the city limits, but you care enough to come to this meeting to give your words on what you think is best for the community. People get elected in this community and they get left out by themselves to try to make the best decisions. And a lot of times when we sit up here, you feel like you do what's best to try to move the community forward and you're looking for input as you begin to make those decisions. And we do workshops, and I can tell you, we workshop to the extent that some of us get tired of coming to workshops because we do a lot of them. But at the end of the workshop, everybody has a say, and that's where we get to hear from the citizens. And it's sometimes disheartening when you sit in there and you talk about issues that you think are important in the community and nobody shows up. So we appreciate getting the comments. Hell, I'm going to defend them. No more jokes. Come on up.
I'd just like to say, I'd like to know more about what's going on in Palatka, and I don't get the paper. I took the paper for a while, and it's boring, it's small. That's
no more joke.
That's not a joke. But if you would advertise, if you had, I don't know if you put the stuff, if you have a website that we can go to that has a calendar of events for the city of Palatka, and when you're having these workshops and graphics, about what's going on, and stuff like that.
Hey, you can start by coming to this meeting. We meet at every
So we can
second
be
and fourth
informed.
Thursday of the month. You can sit right out there. That's how.
So do you have a spot where you put more information
on the
I'm
city
telling
webpage?
You need to just
You do?
come.
Well, was that on there?
You just need to come to city commission.
Well, he needs to know when
twice a month.
But he can get that from our city clerk where she she'll get your email address, and you can actually sign up online.
Wait, can't you just put it out for the public?
I put a lot of stuff out. I put a lot of stuff out on social media.
You know, on the website where we have, all citizens have easy
But
access.
you asked the question,
Yeah,
how
but
would
it's
you
up to the
know?
people.
Okay.
She can help you with the website in terms of
Not me
getting
individually,
registered.
just the general public. You know, we shouldn't have to ask for it. It should be there for us.
It's all
But
public
if you want
notice.
to know something, you ask for it.
It's
So
all-
we're available.
No, it should be there. Just bring it up. You just bring it up. Come on up. Come on up.
You get a copy of that in the paper? Spreadsheet? Nobody's ever seen it.
No, everybody's seen it. They came to that workshop where they were. You were at the workshop and you didn't see it. You've been to our workshops and you didn't see it. I know for a fact you were there. I know for a fact that you were there, Ms. Kreider, but I'm sure you didn't see it. We handed it out. Go ahead. I know. You were just there when the handouts were there. Keep going.
My name is Robert Moody, 520 Oak Street. I first came to Palatka in August of 1960 to ask my current wife's father for permission to marry her. And I've been in and out of Palatka since then, multiple times every year, having retired and moved here 2 years ago to join my wife who was already here. I've been hearing this evening with real interest, and I compliment the commission on all of the work that has been done. There is no question that there is need. It is absolutely critical, and it's to a critical point. I have a feeling, however, with all the things that we've read and all of the efforts that people have made regarding downtown and its revitalization, that in the efforts to move City Hall, and it may well happen, I would like to see and suggest for the Commission's consideration a study group of what the city can do to minimize the negative economic impact to the city, both in attitude and appearance of the move away from downtown. Because when City Hall moves out of downtown, many folks have emotion about that, and it's a negative one. But I believe there are enough smarts in this city, on the commission and in the business community, to come up with some suggestions that the city can do to minimize that negative impact. And that's what my request is tonight.
So, in response to the comments that are there, I've sat through the county. I've sat in meetings where the county office moved from 6th Street to Krill Avenue, and many of the same sentiments shared here tonight were shared then. And when that move took place, downtown economically was in the same situation it's been in forever. I didn't see additional businesses closing because the county left. I didn't see anything different happen, and business efficiency seems to have become better for the county when they made the move. Where we move is going to be based upon the sentiments of the community as a whole. We've been doing these workshops for 4 years. There's 10 public comments and 20 people in the room of a city of 10,000. So that means that either the rest of the people are okay with it or they don't care. And at the end of the day, serious deliberation and some consideration of what's out there has to be put into place in order for us to look at what's there. Everybody gives me this, oh, there's going to be a negative financial impact to downtown. When I come to City Hall, 9 out of 10, we don't eat at all the downtown restaurants. I don't see a lot of folks who work in the courthouse eating at the downtown restaurant. I don't see them going shopping on their lunch break in downtown. We have to change the culture of our citizens overall. For downtown to prosper, it has to prosper by us putting individuals who have entrepreneurial spirits into businesses, or our local folks investing, but also our merchants being in a position where we can allow folks to actually invest into those businesses and be open when they get off work from these factory jobs or other jobs where they get off at 6 o'clock. There's a whole bunch of change that has to take place in order for our downtown to change. There was a period of time in America where downtowns were being abandoned all across the country. The change now is that big box stores are changing. big box stores are closing all across the country. Sometimes it's based upon behavioralistic buying patterns. It's marketing. It's business 101 as to how some of these patterns change. People are going away from traditional mall settings and going to town center settings where they got outdoor shopping plazas and some of these other things. Downtowns are getting some revitalization through programming, but they're also creating demand by putting housing in the downtown area so that you have bodies there. Our downtown is not going to change the complexity or even the dynamics of what happens in downtown doesn't change because City Hall ceases to do business operations building. The beauty of this building doesn't leave just because 10 bodies walk out of it. The beauty of this building is still here. The people that want to come see this beautiful, quaint building will come regardless of whether we're doing financial operations in here or whether somebody's in here having a museum. That's not going to change because the beauty of this building is what it is. But we've got to find ways in which we put bodies in downtown, that we get people to invest in what's here. And that's the difference. We're so concentrated on what the dynamics are, and we keep making these general statements about financial impact, and in some cases, we're just off. I haven't seen anything that's been given to me in metrics that says that there's going to be a negative financial impact just because one business leaves this area and goes somewhere else based upon operation of a governmental entity in a high-value location. That didn't change. We didn't miss anything when our folks stopped coming to when they stopped coming to City Hall to pay their water bill and they're going to 5th and Main as opposed to being able to come to 1st Street. That didn't change. That didn't change any impact. Most of those folks aren't leaving, paying their water bill and coming down here and going shopping. But we have to create methods that we get those things in place. At the end of the day, all I want to see us do is better. Whether it's here, it could be far east or far west. I'm going to still work my butt off for this city. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm in the middle of town. It's going to still be the same thing. I think Chief is going to patrol the area in the same way. The reaction time is going to be the same, whether he's in the parking lot of the mall or he's in the foot of the bridge, because he still has an obligation to patrol the entire city, and it's broken down into zones. That stuff doesn't change. Mr. Griffith is still going to be able to service folks in the same way. The real issue isn't the fact that the police department or Public Works will be moving locations. The real issue is whether the executives continue to operate out of this building or in this general vicinity. That's the issue. The more I hear people talk, that's what it's all about. It's about whether we continue to have a place that's named City Hall somewhere in the vicinity of downtown. That's what it is. Will we have the same conversation with moving Highway 19, which is right now a major commerce area? Will we have that same conversation in other places? I just sat in meetings for 2 days with Quint Studer, and not one time did he say there was going to be a negative financial impact based upon the move. What he said was he wanted to see how Palatka folks handle a situation like this to determine what level of growth was in this community. Because we have to do just what we're doing now, is have dialogue and have conversation and allow the commission to take that information in, deliberate, to find out what's best for this community. And it doesn't have to be a move that takes place today or tomorrow, but it has to be consideration, not for today, but for 20 years from now. Because we've already made these little moves where we go from this building and we're going to acquire the next post office over here, and then we find ourselves in a situation where we've outgrown it because we didn't plan for the future. We planned for a few moments in time. We reduced staff and we still don't have enough space. Now we're starting to grow. People say the city's not growing. We've had a 5% population increase. We just approved another apartment complex, which will bring another 5% in here. So Palatka's growing. Palatka's not considered a dying city. I just had a reporter talk about the population increase in Putnam County. The community is starting to grow. The community has energy. The community has hope. We're not trying to take any of that away. The only thing we're trying to do is logically think about what are the best options for this community. And that's it, point blank. And so what everybody said, your sentiments are being heard loud and clear. Trust me, they've been talked about over and over and over again. In a perfect world, I wouldn't even consider the PRC building. But in today's society, if you got a couple pennies to rub together and you see a great opportunity to advance operations, you have to consider it. You got to consider it the same way. 820. My perfect place right now is next door. My next perfect place, just for city government and police, is 820. PRC way for the money saves us $2.5 million. My goal would be that we outgrow it, and city operations ends up building a new building down here in 10 or 15 years. But we don't know. So that's where we are. We're just trying to make sure that we get direction so that we move the city in the proper place. And that's where we are.
May I respond to your response?
Sure.
Mayor, amen to everything you just said. A double amen. But I'd love to see on the board something similar to what you have portrayed tonight as to all of the options you've considered as to what the city can do for this empty building, for the police empty building. As much effort put into what may happen and what the possibilities are then, and if that can be made public, I think the attitude could change and could be more positive and supportive. My opinion.
I appreciate it. Ms. Wood.
I vote 220 South Fort. I try not to talk, but there was so much being said. I'm not against your idea for a much later period of time for Palatka. I've been here 23 years and I've lived in the downtown, north side and south side, renovating houses, waiting for when things were going to happen for Palatka. And I'm still waiting. And I'm starting to see that there are some things happening, and people like Mr. Studdard and other people are taking an interest. I think if you try to do this now, it's not a good time. We will once again sit and wait for the renovation of downtown, and it will never happen. I mean, we're moving forward now, and to move City Hall out is a bad idea. In my opinion, it's a very bad idea. This building is not protected historically either. So if you did choose to sell it, and I know initially your intentions are to say that that won't happen or whatever, anybody can come in here once they own it, and they can knock it down, and it's over with. And so that is a concern of mine, that there's no protection. Another thing that's a concern of mine is, as long as I've lived here, I always hear what a poor town it is, how poor the people are, how poor Putnam County is. And now we're talking about spending $4 million for facilities, and who's going to pay for it? Me? All these people here? All the poor people of Putnam County and Palatka? I just don't think it's a good time. I think nothing wrong with your ideas. I understand you want to put them together, but it's not the right time to do that. And I do agree that the sanitation department needs to be moved, definitely out of the city, not somewhere in the city. But, yeah, and I totally agree with that. It should not be with the residential area. But please, I have nothing against your idea. I think it's a good idea, but I think the time is not now. We need to build the downtown, bring people in, get more tax money, because we lose $72,000 on that building, and then do your ideas. I'm sorry, but that's just how I do. I hope you'll consider what I said.
Thank you. Any additional comments or conversation from the commission?
Again, I'll just share my sentiment. I don't think we should be moving as fast as we are. I think we need to do a feasibility study, in my opinion. If we sell a building or we get rid of a building, we need to know what the impact would be to the community. And I think if we did this thing holistically, in terms of picking a particular building, we need to we haven't, and I think in total, we have not talked about it. I think Commissioner McCaskill was part of maybe one meeting, but we've had 3 meetings I know of, but there was not a lot of community input. We got people who are a little bit more engaged. I think we need to continue, and they made some the points are well taken. We need to, I think, slow down and pump the brakes a little bit. We know that Public Works need a building. We know that the police department need to do something in City Hall. It's just a toss-up, and Mr. Jones put it together well in terms of the number of people that we would put out in a large building. All of the points were well taken. I think we really need to kind of slow down a little bit. We know we need to do something, and we need to prioritize how we do it. I like to see some numbers, and I like to see some strategy put in place. If we do X, or Y or Z, here's some impacts or things that we will gain or we will lose. So that's where I'm at.
How do you measure that impact based upon that move? What metric, what study is available to do that?
Excuse me?
What metric is available to do it? So
Well,
you want a feasibility. So if we're doing a feasibility study as to what the impact is.
I'm not here to debate anything
debating,
about
just asking
a
so that we can
feasibility
have
study.
information there.
My point is that we need to listen to the community. We need not to be moving. So in my opinion, this is my opinion. It doesn't have to be everybody else's opinion. I'm saying that we're talking about spending $4 million. We don't even know if that's the bottom line. If that would be more money that need to be spent. We're trying to say we're going to go into a building. We don't know the full infrastructure of the building. Has been vacated for over 10 years. Ms. Kitchen brought up some good points. We got to take all of these things into consideration.
So as I sit here and take notes, you said we need a feasibility study. My question is simply, how do you get to it, and what do we do with the feasibility study? It has to be ordered, so there has to be direction given to somebody who's doing it. So I'm asking you, because this is the only time I can ask you. I'm not asking for debate purposes. I'm asking because I want to know if we're going to try to get some direction out there, what we tell staff to do in order to get there, and what we can do to get the stuff that you want. It's not to debate you. It's just to ask the questions, what is it that you want?
Well, some of the things I've asked for, I never, ever got. I asked for numbers. I mean, I think that the chief alluded to that. There was about 10 years of roof repairs. I like to see numbers to say, all right, we keep spending good money on a bad building or whatever it may be. We're just dumping money. We're dumping money on good money on a bad product. We've spent 10 years of money. How much money did we spend over those 10 years on those repairs? That's what I'm asking. I need to see something as it relates to that. I want to know, even from Public Works, all of the different repairs that's been done over the years. That's all I ask. And I haven't seen any of it. That's my concern. We're talking numbers, but I don't see it. I'm hearing it, but I don't see it. I can't make a decision based on what people say, because we can change our minds. But we put it down from a strategic or strategy standpoint. We say, okay, well, here's what we're looking at in whole and in total, plus or minus whatever. That's what I go on.
Gotcha. Anything else?
That's my point.
I'm one of the commissioners that really don't say much up here, and I'm not for one to get into the debate. I say that we are moving pretty fast. We need to put on the brakes in order to move forward. I know that many of the patrons from the community were not here during the workshops and may not have been given a lot of input, but they're here now, and I think that we need to listen to what they're saying. I don't think now is the time for us to move the City Hall building. We do need to look at considering moving public works, because those conditions are horrible down there, I'm sorry. But, we need to take a look at what we're doing and just stop and consider not moving right now, I'm sorry. I do a lot of talking, I don't like a lot of debate, but I do think we need to consider listening to the people that are in this room tonight.
Is there any additional information that you would need that would be helpful for you?
No.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Well, I'm glad you told me last.
That's because you have
Now, I've sit and listened to you, because I know I'm the oldest thing here, and I don't always think on the same plane as my younger counterparts. But there's a reason for that. I had a strange thing come up. I worked at the beginning of my life with a father in a business, then a husband, and then 2 sons. And it gave me some insight in knowing that I need to listen sometimes to see where the thoughts and workings of us. For the first thing, I don't want to see us move out of the city. I think that we move out to that old phone building that is too far out, and we need to be where the citizens can get to us and see us and work with us. I think that we do need, and soon and very soon, probably, something done with the city lot. It's probably been one of the things that we've done last. We've done a bunch of stuff in City Hall without, we got new city managers. They kept changing them, and each one of them came in here and did some stuff that made this building not practical enough for me as it worked. We need, before we start, when we get the next city manager that's going to stay, have him sit down and talk to all of us about how we think the inside and who should look. I remember when this was the post office, because I was a kid and used to ride my bicycle to get the mail. And I hate to see the building go away. But I know there are other uses for it. Right now, I always ask, where we going to get the money? And I know there are grants out there, and that we can go to USDA and they do some stuff. But I'd like to see us have a good idea on how we're going to pay for it and the way we take care of it. So right now, that's the way I feel, and I'm happy to work with all of my people that sit here and all our staff people. And I'm interested in hearing, which I've been hearing, things from citizens. They stopped here, called. I said I wasn't going in the grocery store for 90 days until after this stuff with the garbage was over. and we made some decision about it. But I do like to hear, and I do listen to what you have to say. I listen to everybody, but I think that you all need to understand we listen to you, but we have a right to look at the whole picture and try to do the best thing we can. And I think that we've been doing that for the last 4 or 5 years, that we try to make the best decisions to help the most people. Thank you.
I'll close it out.
You done close it up all night?
No, we're done. Ms. Carrera's the last one. I'll let her go since she put her stuff up there.
Robbie Correa, 118 Dodge. I'm kind of the same mind that we should take this a little slow. It might be more palatable to folks if we do that. Public Works, obviously, no offense to the police department, seems to have the biggest need at the moment. Can we focus on that, see the impact of that, let people adjust to that, move along? Can we also consider getting this building on the local historic register, which is by city ordinance, so people will feel better about this building regardless of whether City Hall is here or not. Right now, people are a bit queasy that there is no protection for this building, and that's not a difficult thing to do. That's just part of city ordinance, and you folks agreeing to that. I'll gladly help with anything around that. But I think, again, can we help as citizens? I know we don't want to leave you we could take part of the blame if things go bad, but leave it all on your shoulders. So as you just said, Mayor, the 5 of you try to do the best you can, and still people respond sometimes in a not so positive fashion. Let's turn that around and let's be a part of this solution instead of looking for ways not to do things. But certainly can we focus on public works and moving forward with that. That's all I have to say.
So, here I am. 4 years ago, we tried to get bi-weekly pay in place for the city. I brought it forward. It was shot down multiple times. We finally have it. If at first you don't succeed, you try again. We'll fight. We'll continue to do things so that we can move the community forward. Tonight, we voted for bi-weekly pay. 3 years ago, we put funding in place, knowing that we had deplorable conditions for our public works department. We just put $225,000 in the budget that we just passed tonight to build new facilities or to renovate existing facilities. Now 3 years and a day later, we still haven't made a decision on what we're going to do with public works, and we keep saying we're doing this too fast. As we continually kick these cans down the road, that can ends up being water lines from 1886 with 65 critical miles of pressure. We've got to start making decisions as to what's best. What I've heard is we may need to phase it in. What I've gathered overall is that the issue's not whether we build up the other 2 facilities. The issue is City Hall. It's simply about City Hall. Again, I've not heard metrics. Again, I've not heard anything about impacts. No one's talked about supply and demand and how we actually deal with economics of building a downtown, because people don't understand that it's bodies that bring folks in here. We worked consistently. Since we're going to take our time and move forward, somebody please come back with an answer of how the commission can actually have office space and not borrow other folks' office space so that we can meet with citizens and work when we're at City Hall on a regular basis. Because the office that we have designated for the commission is now being used by recreation because they didn't have any other space. So get me a temporary workspace while I'm down here at City Hall. Get me somewhere that I can actually call a place where I can work. Get me somewhere that we can do this stuff. Get public works out of the neighborhood where they should have been. And one of the reasons that they've been there for the longest is because historically we put places like public works in black communities because that was where you got the least resistance. Get them out the neighborhood. I'm tired of seeing those trucks run up and down the road where the kids play at the park. I'm tired of seeing those trucks come through residential districts. It shouldn't be that way. That's not the function of public work. So as we begin to move forward in this community, I appreciate the fact that we've got 10 people in here that stood up and spoke. But there's still 10,000 people in this city. There's a growing population. And again, we got to continue on. I'm going to continually spark interest and conversation by trying to move this community forward by being a visionary. We just put another $390,000 back into this budget. The debt service for the golf course and the airport's coming out quickly. There's going to be additional resources in place. We're not out here willy-nilly spending money, but what we created is efficiencies and savings, and another $1.6 million over the last 3 years has gone into this budget. We've been saving on operations. We've been taking that money, doing capital improvements that have been neglected for decades, since my childhood. We've had equitable distribution of city resources throughout this community. North and south, we've been putting stuff in. We've replaced water lines in over 33% of this community that hadn't been replaced. 4 times my age. So we're going to continually fight to move this community forward. And we're going to listen to solutions. I appreciate what I heard. There's 5 options on the table, and we've yet to come up with one. So as we move forward, somebody please give us an option. We're adjourned.
Okay.